Welcome to the homestead, everyone. Today we're going to show you several different ways that we preserve dry goods for storage. And specifically today we are going to be talking about several different methods of vacuum sealing and why we use different methods for different dry goods. Let's get going. So the first thing we're going to vacuum seal is flour, and it's very important to preserve a decent amount of flour because it's difficult to grow. And the absolute best method that we found is to vacuum seal it in mason jars. And then later I will talk about why we cannot use our other vacuum sealing method for flour. So I think preserving anything in a mason jar is an excellent option because you're obviously not going to get any bugs in here after the fact or any rodents chewing on a plastic bag. But utilizing all different methods in all different containers is important. So if you don't have one of these jar sealers for your little food saver, I highly recommend getting one. They weren't that expensive. I think it was 15 bucks for this. It's lasted quite a while, although the Food Saver brand was really hard to find in wide mouth. So I picked up a kit here that has both the wide mouth and the regular mouth. This is Roots and Harvest. It's by LEM, which is a big food preservation company. And on the top of all these jars are these 4 jars lids. These lids are fantastic. The company sent these to me, I think it was over a year ago, and they have worked out really well. Their seal is great, the thickness of them is great, and I have rarely had any not seal. So I highly recommend checking these out. The link is in the description below if you want to go check them out. These are my go-to lids now for everything. So just like with any canning method, you want a wet and dry towel handy so that you can wipe off the rim and dry off the rim so that you don't have any flour dust on here that would prevent a good seal. So simply fill these up and leave a little bit of headspace. It's not necessary to leave more than about 3/4 of an inch. So right up to the bottom of the neck. I'm going to wipe off the rim, dry it off really quick, place on our 4 jars lid, and then here's a trick that you really need to do with these regular mouths. Not so much with the wide mouths, but these regular mouths. Take an old junky lid and put it on top of the other one. That's because there's space in these Food Saver lid attachments here. There's too much space. So you actually need that little bit extra on there to get a good seal. Place it over the top, close your vacuum sealer, and hit vacuum. When you pull the attachment off, this one should just fall off and you should have a good seal. Always check it. I don't crank down on the top, but I do put them on there for a little bit of protection. So sometimes I will add a desiccant pack to the jars. This isn't a humid time of the year. If it was summer and I was doing this, I would probably add this, but it's really not that big of a deal right now. You can also add an oxygen absorber in here, but with flour, I really don't think it's that necessary. Each mason jar holds about 3.5 cups of flour. And of course, date your lids. So I'm going to finish up this flour and then we will get to the second vacuum sealing method and we will do rice, beans, and oats. See you in a minute. And we're back with our chamber vac sealer. Now this type of vacuum sealer is more expensive than the other one, but it removes 99% of the air out of the bag. And remember, air is only made up of 21% oxygen. So there's just a tiny bit of oxygen left in those seal bags. Here's an example of one right here, and you can hear it's like a brick. There is no way that that other vacuum sealer would be able to do something like this. So that's why we invested in one of these, and I'm going to talk about the features of this. So one of the products we are going to be sealing today is rice. Now we've done the freezing method with this. It's been in our freezer for over 7 days, but a lot of people keep it in there for 3, and I think between 3 and 7 days is the sweet spot where you kill off any bugs, larvae, and bug eggs inside of your dry product like rice. Really important to remember that when you bring it out of the freezer, you have to let it sit out for 24 to 48 hours to reacclimate. And condensation is going to form on it, so do not take the product out of the bag. You have to leave it in the bag. All that condensation will form on the outside of the bag, and it won't put any moisture into your food product, which is really important. So some of the other cool features about a chamber vac sealer is that it's really fast. It's about twice as fast as a normal vacuum sealer, an external vacuum sealer. This would be considered an internal vacuum sealer. And you can vacuum seal liquids. So we've got some pasta sauce here, and we're going to show you how it vacuum seals liquids. With liquids, you want to make sure the liquid is cold or cool. If you try to do this with a warm liquid, it's not going to work, because when you remove the air from the chamber, things boil at a different temperature. If you have a hot soup or hot pasta sauce, it's going to boil that, even though it wasn't boiling when you put it in the bag. It is going to boil inside the chamber and kind of explode and get everywhere. So you don't want to do that. Let's get this pasta sauce done, and then I'm going to talk about a few foods that are challenging to do in this chamber vacuum sealer, and one that you should not do in there at all. So like I said, this is depressed on the bottom so that it can contain liquids like this. We're still going to put our bag in our holder. We're going to make sure it's nice and flat, like that. Make sure it's centered on the bar, and then we're going to seal the liquid. Look at that, perfectly sealed, no air in there, and you can lay this flat and freeze it really easily. So it works perfectly for storage of liquids if you don't have space for jars anymore, but you have space in your freezer. So a very important thing to note when you're using a chamber vac sealer is that you need to use the proper bags. You have to use the smooth bags. They're smooth on all sides, and the bags that are used for the external type sealers have dimples on one side. You cannot use these in the chamber vac. They will not work. However, you can use a Mylar bag, and we'll show you what we use these for in just a minute. So you see inside of the chamber vac, it's kind of got a dimple here, and it's got a portion of the top that is bubbled out, and that's so you can fit fairly large things in here, and I'm going to talk about that more in a second. But when we are vacuum sealing, these are 11 by 10 bags. You can get all different size bags. We're going to fill up our bag full of the oats. I put 8 cups of oats in this 11 by 10 bag. Now, this particular type of vacuum sealer, some have a little clip here or a little holder for your bag, and some do not. I recommend getting the one that's got a little holder, because sometimes these can slip out or not seal properly on the sealing bar, which is right here. We're going to center it up here, and we're going to turn on the vacuum sealer. I have mine set for 25 seconds. You can set yours for what you think is good. Between 25 and 35 seconds is, in my opinion, good for these type of dried goods. We're going to seal it. You can see it's pulling the vacuum right now. Then it'll stop, and I don't think you can see through this. Once the vacuum is released, your oats are sealed solid. Now, one thing that I didn't do when I put the oats in there was manipulate them and smash them down so it was nice and flat. So you can see this odd shape to the bag here, and you can't really move them around in the bag anymore. So if you want nice, flat, uniform packages, then make sure you flatten them down when you put them inside the vacuum chamber. Here we have the bag of rice. We're going to put it in this little bag holder here, and we're going to make sure everything is perfectly aligned. And here we go. There's our brick of rice. Okay, check it out. These two little culprits right here will puncture your chamber vac seal bags. This one right here is a chickpea or garbanzo bean, and this one over here is a piece of popcorn. So when doing these, you're going to have to find another method, because they really easily go through the outside of those bags. And I haven't found bags thick enough to be able to handle these two. However, a Mylar bag is thick enough to handle them. So if you're going to use the chamber vac you want to use a Mylar bag with these. But there's another way that you can seal these difficult food products, and that is in a jar. Now I know I just showed you the external vacuum sealer with a jar attachment. You can actually put this jar in your chamber vac. Depending on how big your chamber vac is, you might be able to fit 2 jars in there. Just put your lid on as normal and put the ring on it. We're gonna set it inside the chamber vac, just like this, and do the same process. Obviously without the heat sealer bar. Just like the other process with the bags, it's completely vacuum sealed, solid. You can take the ring off and dump it over to check, but it's ready for a long shelf life. Now let me talk about the one product you cannot do in here, and that is flour, and that's why I did it the other way at the beginning of the video. This chamber vacuum sealer draws out all of the air out of the bag and out of the chamber itself, and then lets it back in, and that's what collapses the bag. Well, the flour is so fine that it will get sucked into the vacuum mechanism, and you don't want that to happen. It will gum up and it will mess up your chamber vac sealer. So remember, no flour inside of here. Now that everything is sealed up, make sure you're gentle with these. You're not tossing them around like a football. These bags are delicate and they can get a small tear in them, and then your efforts are completely wasted. You don't have to be like newborn baby gentle with them, but just don't toss them around the room. Now I know a lot of you are gonna ask how much this is, and it is obviously more expensive than a normal Food Saver vacuum sealer that you can pick up at Walmart. The one that I showed earlier was about $100, and the vacuum seal attachments, or the jar attachments, were about $25 at that time. I don't know if the price on those has gone up at all. So we're talking $125. This one right here was $700. But they have ones that are a little bit smaller and a little bit less expensive. I believe the least expensive one that I could find that was still a solid quality, it's not coming straight from random China manufacturer, the one I found was $400. If you get that one, it's 4 times as much as the other external sealer, but your food's gonna last a lot longer. You're talking about 80% air removal from those other types of sealers, the external sealers, as opposed to 99% air removal for something like this. And that's gonna make the food last longer and essentially, in my opinion, be cheaper in the end of the day. I bought this one with my own money from the Web Restaurant Store. This is the Vac Packet. The Vac Master is a little bit more expensive, but they're supposed to be better, but you're gonna spend probably over $1,000 for one of those, and they have those on Amazon. If you're interested, I'll put all the links to the ones that I found below. The $400 one, this one, the one on Amazon, so on and so forth. You can take your pick. Or if you find a better price for something like this, leave a comment in the comment section below and share it with everybody. We'd surely appreciate it. But I've been really happy with this so far, and I have been vacuum sealing things like crazy. Just getting extra 50-pound bags, freezing them, taking care of business with this, storing them. Well, I've got a lot more work today to do with the rest of this rice and oats. If you have any questions, leave it for me in the comment section below. Now go check out this video right here, which is our review of our Harvest Right freeze dryer. Have a beautiful, blessed day. We'll see you next time.